Well, hey, Diet Disruptors, Carrie here, and buckle up because today's episode is going to take you on an adventure. I mean, there's nothing like having a true bona fide Navy SEAL and celebrity in our house today. I mean, this is going to be one of my favorite episodes. Jovon Quarles, who we call Q, is here, and you may know Q from being the host of Fox's Special Forces World's Toughest Test. You are a Navy SEAL, you are a reality TV show celebrity, and you are here to talk to us today because you have so much that to teach that we can learn from. You are just literally one of my true mentors when it comes to doing hard things. How are you doing?
Oh my God. Thanks, Carrie, for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'm doing great. Life is good. A lot of amazing things are coming my way. I'm blessed. I can't be mad at it. And I'm just humbled and happy to be here and just fortunate to be here. So let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Q, you have such an incredible story. And the reason why I asked you to come on to the show is because you have so much to teach people around an area of health and wellness that I think we miss. So many times people will say, Carrie, just tell me what to eat. Give me a meal plan, right? Women especially, the women that we talk to hundreds and hundreds of women in my private practice every single month. And when I ask them how long they've been like dieting, obsessing about their food and their bodies, it's for an average 50-year-old, it's over 30 years. And they're searching for this like perfect plan. And in all reality, I say all the time, you can know what to do, but you just won't do it if your head is not actually in the game, if your mindset isn't strong, and if you're able to persevere through hard things. And Q, your story, I mean, from when you were a kid is all about hard. So let's talk a little bit about kind of your Navy SEAL. And let's be honest, that is one of the hardest things to be. And then a reality TV show. I'm actually not sure what's harder, but you have learned how to do hard things. And so let's go back into a little of your past as to kind of how you became what you are today.
Carrie, I love starting that way, honestly, because I think people need to know the story and where we all come from. Because I think everyone has a story, right? Big, small, struggle, not struggle, whatever. But we all come from something that we had to deal with and get over in some form.
Yeah.
And my story goes from growing up with my mom was a drug addict. Be honest with everyone out there. That's how I grew up in. I didn't know who my dad was, never met the man, and she didn't even know who he was either. And I've asked her many times in my youth when I was growing up, do she know who he was? I would like to know him. I got two different names, two different times. So she clearly was in a state that was not, you know, coherent to, raising a child at the moment at the time. And I was born in 1980. So you can see and understand what life was like back then in that time, the 70s, 80s, when she had me. She was very young. So I was primarily raised by my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. All of them came in and helped out in some way, some version, especially my aunts to be that mother figure for me with my grandmother. And drugs, domestic violence, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And I've found the drugs in my house before, my mom's drugs anyway. And she'll see this video, I'm sure, and she may look at this as a slap to her. And I try to tell her when she reaches out to me, because we don't have a great relationship still today. But when she reaches out to me, I try to tell her that the story about the upbringing, the story about her, isn't about her. You need to stop taking it personal. It's about people need to see that what I went through with you, the struggle that you had being addiction, that I was able to still change my circumstance and change my life because I really had a huge reason why. And I know you always speak to that.
Mhm.
Having a reason why is the number one thing that's going to drive people to be better or to change and to create the habits that they talk about. So I know you always talk about that.
I do. So what was your why? Because it's so easy in a cycle of poverty and we always talk about modeling for our kids, right? Because we're their teachers. You had such a challenge in front of you in terms of to be taught in a way that sets you up for success. So what was your why? Because I always say when you have a strong why, you're going to be able to show up for yourself in a very different way.
Right. And I believe that. And I want people to understand that's not a cliche saying because so many people use that as like a little, they undervalue that saying that your
Yeah.
why has to make you cry. It's your why is true. Your why is your inspiration. Your why is what's going to get you up when you don't want to do this certain thing and make you go do it. And Mike Tyson says this thing, do it like you love it, even when you're tired of it, you know.
Mm,
And for me, my why, because I even had struggled in high school with all the stuff that was going on. I had a son in high school and I was a teenage kid. So I was creating the same cycle that my mom had. I wasn't into drugs yet at the time anyway. So, but the same cycle of struggle and not doing what I should have been doing while I was in school.
mhm.
So once my grandmother said this to me, you're going into the military so you can make sure you can take care of this child. And we're going to get you out of here so you can make sure you can have the ability to do what you need to do financially and grow as a man, become a man, and take care of your responsibilities. So becoming a Navy SEAL, the reason why I didn't quit that was because of my son and because of my grandmother who raised me. My grandmother's tattooed on my shoulder here,
Oh.
right? This tattoo. Most people can't really see it. It's a rose that wraps around my arm and it goes all the way up my shoulder. It's a rose. So you see the thorns and all that stuff. It goes through the middle name, the last name of Quarles. Can't do it here.
Yeah.
But it blossoms with her coming out of it, right? Because her face was what was my rose. She was a big reason why I had the success that I have today. She was my driving force. She was my reason why. Her and my son to show them that their dad, their grandson can be something bigger and better and change their circumstance of how his upbringing was to being something more inspiring for others, something that can show others who grew up with not such a great family, the mom and dad situation together, you
You
know.
know, I say this all the time. Like, we were all put on this earth for a purpose. And even though you were born into circumstances that were less than ideal, you were here. You have a fingerprint, you have a voice that is unique than everybody else's. And I think so many of us are chasing this comparison game, this vanity metrics. And if we could actually dig into a deep reason as to a belief that we're here for a reason, that, I mean, my biggest fear is that one day I die and God looks at me and says, "You did good, but I had so much more planned for you." And for you to tap into that at a young age, I mean, Q, to go into the military and then to become a Navy SEAL, there is a huge, huge cavern in between there. Like, if you like when I work with women very often they have a goal of like losing 40 pounds. Why? So they can feel better about themselves. But a goal like that is just sort of like on a night when I'm super stressed out, I know I'm not going to lose 40 pounds by tomorrow, so I'm just going to eat the cake today. You have to have a why that's bigger than that. And my guess is that why is so big. You knew you had a purpose. You knew you had to change your cycle. You wanted to really show your grandmother and your son that you could be somebody so different for them, that I got to believe that when you got into the military, you were like, I'm going all in. Is that what
It
happened?
was. It was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I had my bumps and bruises still. I was still learning, right? I was coming
Yeah.
out of that phase of all that, because I got kicked out of my first program in the military. So just so you know, people, you
That
can
is
still have
so
bumps.
wild.
Yeah,
But don't you
I
think,
did.
like, we're always so afraid to fail, but how did that quote unquote failure actually help you? Because I'm going to guess that it did.
I was super embarrassed. I had kind of built a connection with one of the instructors there, and the instructor kind of didn't know my detail of my life, but he kind of saw something in me that he kind of took me under his wing while I was going through this program. It was a search and rescue swimmer and aircrew aviation part of the Navy. And when I got kicked out because I was being a butthole of that program, and I had to turn in my uniform backs, the uniform they gave us back into the supply department, and I knew he was going to be there. I was doing everything I could to dodge him because I was still a teenager and I just didn't know how to really show him that I failed. I
Yeah.
I lost this opportunity, and I was so ashamed to show him. And when I got picked up to do a different job, I was so determined to get back to do something much more greater in my mindset because I didn't want that feeling again. So it was a huge inspiration for me also.
Yeah, sometimes we have to go around the mountain a few times before we're really ready to dig in and to do the work. Would you agree?
I agree. I bump my head a few times before you finally figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So now getting to be a Navy SEAL and then being a Navy SEAL, Q, like, every single day. Like, I got to be honest with you. This morning, I was like, I don't really want to work out. I don't really want to go to CrossFit. And then I thought, okay, I'm interviewing Q. I can't just not go to CrossFit because I don't feel like it. There had to be multiple days we didn't feel like doing the things. But
You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, but you clearly did it anyway. And so how do you get past the feelings?
Carrie, going through Buzz. So Buzz, for people knowing, is the SEAL Navy SEAL selection program, which stands for Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, SEAL
Okay, that
Student.
sounds miserable.
Oh, the
That sounds
title of
harder
it
than
is bad.
CrossFit. I gotta be honest.
It's terrible. Basic underwater demolition. It just sounds like, oh, you're going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And when I went through it, I didn't really know that this was going to happen to me. Everything was a struggle for me. I was an athlete naturally, but going through this stuff to be a Navy SEAL is something totally different than what I was used to. One is not like a sport track practice where you get coaches like pushing you, giving you encouragement. They don't encourage nothing. They're just all in your face and telling you don't deserve to be here. You ain't nothing. You should quit. You should leave. They're looking to break you down mentally. And for the most part, it works. I think what I read, it is Navy SEAL training is the hardest course selection program in all the military that we have. And I understand it really is. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a SEAL for people watching, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it directly does break people down, and
yeah.
people lose their minds when they quit.
Well, that's why it's like to me, you can have a really big why, but I feel like there's a moment and you're like, I could be successful in other ways. I don't have to do this. Like, there's got to be a moment where you're like, hell no.
Carrie, I'm about to tell you something that I haven't told any podcast or any show yet,
Oh, I feel so
because
honored.
they never asked this question. But
Okay.
you just said something that goes right into why I did this thing.
Okay.
Most people don't know, but my family and maybe my closest friends know that I had to go through buds twice. Right? I quit the first time. I quit. I gave in because exactly what you said. On Hell Week, the first time I went in, Tuesday in Hell Week, for people who don't know, it goes from Sunday night to Friday morning. This is the most hardest piece of the training that you'll ever go through because it's really meant to break you down. They barely feed you, they barely give you water, and you only get 3 hours of sleep in the middle of the week.
Oh, dear God.
Sunday, so Tuesday morning, like 2 a.m., we're coming out of eating some mid rats, and the food is terrible. It's cold. They don't warm it up. They really set you up for breaking you down to see what you can do in a time of real serious combat. So we go outside and we're getting the boats in our heads. And like I said, it's 2 in the morning. I can see across the harbor the lights of the Navy ships shining in the light of the lights of the harbor lights and all that stuff. And the thought came to my mind, what you just said. I can easily go back to doing that for the Navy and still serve my country and be happy enough to just say, hey, I at least did this. I
Yeah.
am at least serving my country. I don't have to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
I can just say I at least attempted this thing, this
Yeah.
this amorphous thing. I can at least say I tried. Did you try? No, you didn't try, but at least I gave it a shot and I
Yeah.
still came over here
Grandma
and
will be
served.
proud. Your son will be
Mhm.
proud, right? Still,
Yeah.
nevertheless. Okay.
Yeah. And so that moment I told myself, my why, I didn't count on it. I didn't think back to my reason why. I let my why just kind of flutter away from me for a moment. And
Mhm.
in that moment of weakness, mental weakness, I walked underneath my boat. I walked from underneath my boat with my other 5 or 6 other men holding the boat on their head, and I left and went to the truck and rang the bell and quit in that moment of weakness that I
Wow.
had. I quit. I rang the bell. I did.
It's amazing how that tiny little moment, they talk about 90 seconds. Like in the
Yeah.
moment that you're feeling that weakness, if you can hold off for 90 seconds, you usually can make it pass. Do you feel like if you could have held on for 90 seconds more, you would have stayed? Or do you feel like you were done?
I would have, because the
Wow.
moment I rung that bell, I saw my boat crew and all the other boats of the men that were still there running away, and everything of the doubt and the fear and the weakness and the just all the negative thoughts that I had that hit me and took over, and I allowed it to take control of me in that moment was gone. And I
Wow.
knew then I could have easily carried on with them, and it should have
90
still been.
seconds. That's all it
Yep.
takes.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. So you quit. Again, I guess you needed to keep going around the mountain, but you went back
When I did that,
and they
and
took
I
you back.
they took me back. They denied me the first time. They denied me because they don't like to do that, right? They don't
Yeah.
once they already found out something weakness about you, and they don't like to really take you back in. And the moment I got back to the barracks change and whatever I did, I was so pissed off at myself. And I made every effort to try to get back. And I didn't want to tell my grandmother. I didn't want to tell my kids. It was so embarrassing to me. It hit me so hard. People go into
Mhm.
depression when they leave that program. So normally they give you a 2 year time limit to apply to come back. You have to wait 2 years to at least apply. And then you have to at least state why you quit and all that stuff. And then they look at it and then they make a decision overall or whatever if they're going
Mhm.
to allow you to come back.
Okay.
So I went through a process where I had to deploy. And on that deployment, pretty much right after I quit, I went through everything I could. I used every resource. I called every person I knew and all this stuff to try to get back and say and apologize to whoever I needed to get them to approve me back.
Mhm.
So while on deployment, I applied again. I was in Iraq. I applied again, and they disapproved. They did not approve me. Disapproved it, and it hit me. And I talked to another Navy SEAL that I knew, and he knew how bad I was at taking this on and
Mhm.
just the feeling of it. And he knew my personality. And the one thing about the SEAL community is not about how physically strong you are. They want the person's mindset. They want the right mental person to be a part of that community. It's a tough community and they want the right men. And he loved my who I was as a man. He
Mhm.
knew that I had that 90-second moment of weakness and I allowed this to take me out. And he knew that I fit the mold of what mentally a Navy SEAL looks like. So he made some calls on his own. And crazy enough, 2 weeks later, I got an email from the people who deal with orders and where you're going to go. And they said, I
Yeah.
got approved to go back. And as soon as I came back from deployment, I was off and back in the program. And I was way less or way faster than the 2 year time frame.
Today's episode is brought to you by Resist Protein Bars. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, yes, of course, you want to be eating clean, whole, unprocessed food as much as possible. But also, we're busy, right? And so we have to still be able to fuel our body in a way that it loves. And protein bars are often a really good source of fueling. However, the problem is there's so many ones on the market that either spike your blood sugar uncontrollably or they're filled with all sorts of nasty ingredients. And to be honest with you, most of them are both. That's why I love Drew and Emily, two women who decided they were going to crack the code on how you can produce a protein bar that not only tastes great, but also has wonderful ingredients and won't spike your blood sugar. Think about the name resist, like insulin resistance. Blood sugar balance is what they are all about. I love that they are a company of women that also are a company that cares about what we put in our body. So if you are interested to try as a great meal replacement to one of your PFC meals, check out eatresist.com and use the code PFC315 to get 15% off. Very often, and I see this all the time with women that I coach,
Mhm.
we find one little barrier and we're like, okay, I'm out. I can't do it. I'm good. Because the idea of doing something hard, showing up for yourself, even if you want it really badly, is still hard to like, it's easy to allow the excuses to step in. And when you got denied, I feel like it would have been so easy to be like, yeah, all right, I guess this just isn't for me because you knew what you were about to go back into, which sucked. But like that determination, that saying, I failed, but I'm not quitting, because the only time you really fail is when you quit. Let's be honest. Right. So you had that setback. I once had a staff member who I said, I don't think you're right for this role. I just don't think you're quite getting it. I think you're better in this role. And she literally said to me, no, I want to do this role. I have to. I will learn. And I was like, gosh, it is so impressive. And I think we just need something to really like I guess my question for you is like what is it that didn't allow you to just use the excuse? Was it just within you, this determination that you have?
What you just said about that is you hit it again. You've been hitting it all. You've been touching me today. You've been
Let's
touching
just
me today,
go.
girl. Um, and I tell people this thing. We as people, we tend to use things, we use excuses and we fall on these excuses, then we try to justify them to be all the reason
Yes.
why it's a sign of God that I should do something else.
Yes.
I
Yes.
should
I'm
easily
like,
go
no,
on that.
it's
Yes, it's like it's not. It's that we should just be better. We got to go through the process. And for me, it was the same thing. It was not that God did because my grandmother didn't want me to go back. I forgot to tell you that. My grandmother said, "No, what boy?" That's how she talked to me. She was like, "Well, boy, I guess that just meant you ain't supposed to do that job. You should go and do something else and just do the Navy and be safe." Because she was only thinking about my safety,
Yeah.
which your grandparents, your mom, dad always
Yeah.
want your
Yeah. Of
safety.
course.
And she knew what the Navy SEALs was not a safe job. So she was like, boy, just go on, just do something else in the Navy and be happy and do your career. And I was like, no, I'm not taking that, right? This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I want to do. This is going to help me grow as an individual, as a person. So I didn't allow that excuse and I didn't justify the excuse to go off and do something else to saying that, oh, I guess this is just not meant for me.
Hmm.
So I
But
did everything I could.
you're
Mhm.
a man of faith, and I think that in so many ways, it's like it just doesn't sit right with us. We could justify the excuse and let it sit for a little while, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there's something that stirs in us, and you're like, it's just it's not sitting right. And my guess is that's a piece of that. And for my staff member, I think that's what it was for her too. She knew she was really supposed to be doing the thing that I thought she couldn't do, and now she turned out to be like my top staff member in that department, which I think is
Yeah.
amazing, right? But you something was stirring in you.
It was. And kid you not, when I got back, everything changed, right? I mean, like you said, I knew exactly what was going to happen to me. And even when you're in buzz, you know the schedule. So it's already mentally there to break you down and already know, okay, you got to do this hard thing tomorrow for a certain amount of hours. It's going to break you down. Long PT, running with the bolts on your heads, 2 mile ocean swims, 4 mile time runs in the soft sand. You already
Oh
know the schedule, and you're going to have these instructors mentally breaking you down, telling you you don't deserve to be here. You shouldn't be here. So I knew what I was getting involved in. And then I come back and I get to the same spot, Carrie. The same exact scenario came up again. Tuesday morning, we're tired as I don't know what. I'm outside and I'm looking at, and I could just see again the Navy ships in San Diego and everything again. And the same thought came to mind. Same thought. And the one thing I thought about though this time was my grandmother showing her, I can do this with my
hmm
kids, having my son being able to say, my dad's a Navy SEAL. How many kids can say that?
Right,
Um,
right.
and I stayed underneath that boat and we took off and ran through it. And lo and behold, by the time I graduated the Navy SEAL program, I ended up graduating as the first Black male to graduate top of his class in all of history for the Navy SEAL program at that time.
I mean, that and that is a story. A story is perseverance, a story of purpose, a story of a strong why, and a story of actually just not quitting at the end of the day. You could, you know, stop multiple times, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you didn't quit. And, now like it's so interesting with your show because when I watch it, I'm seeing celebrities who are all kind of being asked to do the same thing. And this is what I think about all the time. Like you could know what to do, you could have a plan, all of that, but knowledge is one thing. It's application, that's a whole nother thing. And our thinking, to me, is the biggest barrier in our way. And so I'm watching some of these celebrities, and you were in the second season and the third season, and now I want to know if there's going to be a fourth season. So like I'm on pins and needles for that, FYI, because I'm enthralled.
Well,
I
I'll tell you. Oh,
Okay,
go ahead.
go.
I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I was only going to say that, they've been teasing season four. And
Oh,
and looks like if they're teasing it, and if I know about it, meaning I'm going to be also a part of it. So I'm
I'm so
blessed for
happy. I love putting you
that.
on the big screen in my living room. That's like my favorite thing. I send you texts sometimes, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
watching. Okay, so this is really why I love it. While I love watching you on there, and it's like so funny to watch you because I know you, and like when you're mean, I know it's still like you're just your heart comes through in the attempt to be mean, and maybe it's because I know you. But anyway, but I'm watching people break at different points, and like some of them break very quickly and others take a little while, but it's really interesting because it's like they're all being given the same kinds of tasks, the same kinds of treatment in a lot of ways, right? But people break at different times. So what are the things that you have learned seeing kind of regular people go through this kind of really hard training, and what makes a person really successful at doing hard things?
Number one, you always say it again. It's that why. That's that why. And I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna always echo what you say there because it's
Mm.
so true. The people who come on the show is like they've already seen seasons of it already or episodes of it from the season before, so they have an idea what to expect,
Yeah, but
but they
that's my
don't.
point, right? Knowing is
Yes.
different than doing.
Yeah, right, right. And they come on the show after seeing that and they believe they still have an idea, but they don't really know until they're caught up in it. And then I think a lot of them believe that it's going to be like a typical TV Hollywood type of setup. And they don't realize that we truly are the gatekeepers of our special forces departments. I'm the Navy SEAL, there's Marine Recon, there's the SAS British Special Forces, there's the SBS British Special Forces. We create everything for this show, everything, and it's
Yeah, you're
completely.
actually, it's not like the producers are saying you're going to do this. You guys are actually planning this,
We
planning
plan it. Yep.
their activities, as I would call them.
And we do. We create it all, and the producers allow us to play that role. And even during filming, the producers are further away because they don't want these recruits, these celebrities, to believe that they have any play in this. They have to deal with us, and because we're the gatekeepers of this, where the world gets to see, the audience gets to see how we train and what we expect and how selection really is in our process. We
Mhm.
don't want it. We don't want this to be some lightly looked at thing. We make
Yeah.
sure people understand that this is very serious and we take this to heart, and we give them our all. And it's a mind. I was about to say another word, but it's definitely it plays to the mind game for sure, because
Yeah.
you have to really have a big why you're here as well. And we find that in some of these celebrities, and some of them, their why you'll find initially just isn't big enough. They're not here for the right reasons. They just thought it was going to be something cool. They thought they're here to reinvigorate their career. They just want to see. But some of them come out, they really have a purpose, they really have a why, and they want to see if they can grow through it and manage it and make it happen.
So if you end up going, I got to believe when you moved into, when you did your second season, which was the third season of the show, and now if you end up doing this fourth season, which woohoo, I'm so excited. Um, I wonder if you can kind of predict based on the whys that you're hearing who's going to be able to make it longer than others. Do you feel like you were able to do that in the second season that you were in? Or do you feel like you could do that now that you're two seasons already in?
Yeah, yeah. We have a big prediction. Us four, we get together and we kind of give an idea. And some of
You
us
do.
know some of these celebrities. We followed them. Some of us didn't. So we all kind of give our, information on what we know of these each individual.
Yeah.
And for me, I looked at season three, so people know. I thought the two football players would get close to the end for sure. I knew they would at least make it to day 10.
Hmm.
Um, Carrie Hart was another one. He was another big prospect because his background as a extreme a motocross person. So he's gone through a lot of hell in his life.
I feel like these athletes, they have to push through pain, uh, disappointment, failures more than like a typical person. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. But sometimes these celebrities, I mean, not celebrities, sorry, these football players, these athletes, they have been, somewhat given a lot to them as well. So
Yeah.
towards when their career starts to change from college before they go to that maximum level of pro, they've been, pampered most of their time. So it's been a long time since they really had someone challenge them. So
Well,
they
and
don't know what
also
it's like.
too, think about
Hmm.
this. When
Hmm.
you're doing like when you're really good at one thing and you
Right.
focus on that a lot, yes, it's hard, but it becomes part of who you are and you almost know what you're going to expect. I wonder, right? Like because they don't know what they're going to expect. They've never done this stuff. The brain doesn't like doing new things, doesn't like doing hard things, doesn't like doing unfamiliar things. And for people that have been really focused in on their craft, while it could be hard and they push through pain and perseverance, it's only one thing that they have to be really good at. And you make them do a whole lot. And isn't that like
100%.
life, right? Life is never going to be this one thing that you can focus on and just be really good at. You're going to get all sorts of curveballs thrown at you, and you got to be able to like fly through turbulence.
100%, 100%, and that's what we try to get people to understand that this is relatable to everyday people, right? It's really a mindset situation. We go through life and we're hit all kind of ways with all different things, and sometimes it's a good day, sometimes it's a bad day. But you
Yeah,
got to push through those days. You still got to get up and make things happen. You still got to challenge yourself so you can grow. You got to find things to challenge yourself so you can continue to grow. Because you want to be there for your kids. You want to show them, hey, I can. Mom and dad can do this big thing.
yeah.
So, and like you say, with these some of these celebrities and athletes and movie stars and all that stuff, they've been so professional at this one thing.
Hmm.
Now it's time to show them, okay, can you understand how life works? Because there's a lot of things that's going to get hit by you, and you're not going to like it. We're going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to be uncomfortable in life. You got to make decisions. You got to make a decision on the show where you need to go. You have to be a conscious thinker, a critical thinker. You have to make decisions on life, and you have to have a strong why you're doing anything. So we really put
Yeah.
that on these celebrities, and what they get out of the after the show, it really is impactful internally. You really
Mm-hmm.
feel a level of significance because they call each one of us and they'll tell us something, that they gain out of it. They appreciate the
Hmm.
push, the drive, and they all come back to us in some kind of way. Now, sometimes some take a little personal.
Yeah, I wonder, right? Like, do they get mad?
Yeah, I've had a few not call me and contact me a couple of times because they just don't want to deal with me.
Really?
I'll tell you, season two,
Yeah.
Tara Reid. Tara Reid, please don't take this personal. I'm just telling the story because people need to hear it, right? Because you and I are both cool now, but she didn't want to talk to me initially. Afterwards, she really took what I did to her, what I said to her, how I challenged her, very personal. And then once I sent her a video on Instagram, she called me and we had a conversation, and boom, relationship was great from that point on, and it has been great. We still chat here and there. I saw her at JoJo Siwa's house in LA when we did a watch party. And there's other ones too who have done the same. So towards some of the other hosts as well. But
That's so
people,
interesting too, because like that's the barrier that I think about and I talk about. First of all, there's intention versus impact. Your
mhm,
intention was pure, I mean your cue, and but the impact was interpreted by her as a different than your intention. But do you see how like it's that example of how we can take one thing that's like a little barrier and make it a justified excuse for not showing up in the way that we need to, or for I call it a truthiness about a certain situation. But in some ways, that became an allowable excuse to like justify why she wasn't successful or whatever it is, you know? And I'm not saying her, but I'm saying that's what we do.
we do it all the time. As a human race, we do it all the time.
Yep.
Everyone does it in some form or fashion, and we have to learn how to get past that. And because we need to identify when it's coming up. Am
Yeah.
I creating this excuse in my mind that I'm trying to justify this thing that I can't do it because I'm making it seem like, okay, this is just another reason why I should do something else. I should go to the next shiny thing. It's not that you should go to the next shiny thing. You just need to be better on yourself and go and attack this particular thing that you wanted to accomplish anyway. But we
Well,
do.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, the brain, like when I talk about self-sabotage a lot, and the
Yeah.
brain doesn't like unfamiliar, doesn't like new, and it doesn't like being uncomfortable. And so our that little voice, that is that same little kid that was inside of us since we were little, telling us maybe we weren't enough or we weren't good enough or whatever it was, comes out in that moment where it's like, wait a minute, the brain doesn't like to be uncomfortable, doesn't like the unfamiliar, and then it subconsciously convinces us that we should stop, that we question what we're doing. We question the people around us when it's really just our brain, like really just not wanting to push through innately. And that's when something else has to come about in order to push through that. Otherwise, this is why I feel like so many of us don't meet our potential in life.
I
Yeah.
agree with you. That
All right.
I can't say nothing else on that. Everything you said was
Well,
dead
all right.
dead on.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So I was an educator for more than 20 years, and there's this author of a book that I love. His name is Paul Tough, and he wrote a book about how children succeed. Okay, and he did tons and tons of research, and he found that there's 7 character traits about a person that we could look at and see the most successful people have most of these traits or many of these traits. But the cool thing about them, it's not like blue eyes or the color of your skin. I can't change the color of my eyes. You can't change the color of your skin. But these character strengths is what he calls them. You can actually build and change. And I feel like for you as a kid, especially your teenage years, something inside you started building some of these character strengths that got you to be successful. And so I want to share with you these 7 strengths, and I want you to think about them in terms of yourself, but also in terms of these celebrities and the ones that end up winning at the end. Do you see these strengths in there? Because I think this could be really helpful knowing that like these strengths really help us and we can learn them, right? So the first one is grit. Okay. The second one is curiosity. Third is self control. Fourth is social intelligence. The fifth is zest. Sixth is optimism. And seventh is gratitude.
Mm.
So I think of you as the teenager, and then I think of you as the man that you have become. Grit, curiosity, self control, social intelligence, zest, optimism, and gratitude. Q, I feel like you embody all of those things. And my question is, do you think like when you were that teenage boy, you had all those things, or do you think that you've evolved into having those? Because that teenage boy sounds like a very different person than the 45-year-old who you are now.
Yes, I would say it developed. It developed over
Yeah.
time. It developed seeing some of the things I saw growing up, and the drugs, the violence, the police coming in my home. Every bit of this stuff I started to change, and the grit started to come up based off of what I was going through in the daily life of struggle, being poor. The self control I had to learn. Right, one of
Mhm.
your points, the self control I had to learn and understand. Okay, I got kicked out of one of my programs in the Navy when I first came in. The gratitude then hit me big time. Gratitude because I am the most humble Navy SEAL you'll probably ever meet because
Yeah.
I look at everything as thankful for it. Before
Hmm.
we started the show, I told you about how I had a huge prayer because of what the things I'm thankful for that I have going on in my life today, and everything else in between. For those key points that you talked about, all of them
Yep.
encompassing every piece of that in me, who I am today.
Yep.
And those I had to grow. I had to bump my head a few times, but you have to. Everyone has to as a teenage kid. And some of us kids, we're growing up and we have a different situation or whatever. But a lot of us, we still not. I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Not just a lot of us, all of us. We all have to change and go through some type of challenge. Some challenges are just
Yes.
very different than others. That's all.
Yes.
You can be a rich kid. You still got challenges. You're still dealing with something. You may still think that you're not worthy of this or that or the other because you're
Yes.
born into a wealthy home or something like that. Versus me coming up poor, drugs, alcohol, domestic
Yep.
violence, police. We all still have that. So it's not I are different than you or I am better than you or my struggles are worse than yours. No, that's not the thing. We all have our own struggles and we all have to deal with something and come out of it. So those points that you talked about, we have to develop them, I
Yeah,
think.
I love that. So I'd love to leave with the message of hope. That's one of the things that I care so much about, that people have hope in understanding that our life tomorrow and in the future can continue to evolve to get better and better, that we're all here for a purpose. And as I think about your struggles, and I think about somebody that might be struggling right now, when you look back at your struggles, every single one of them, you look back on all of them and be grateful for them and realize that you have learned from them?
Yes.
Is there
Yes.
is there any struggle that you felt like was a waste of your time?
No, and even my biggest struggle, I will say, coming up was more of, am I the one? Am I good enough to do these things? Am I the guy to change and not be a statistic and be more than what my circumstance that I was raised into showed me? So am I enough? Am I worth this? That was always probably my biggest struggle I dealt with in person, personally. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it just goes to show that if you're struggling today, anybody that's struggling today, the struggle always ends up in growth and
Mm.
in progress and in just a better you. And so I feel like you're embodying of that. And I love what you just said. You are the poster child of someone who you could not control your circumstances, but you could control your response. And even when your response was not what you were proud of, you then adjusted and made a different response. And you're just such an inspiration for everybody. And I know that most of my audience are women going through the dieting nightmare and cycle and trying to figure out if they are enough or not. And it's encouraging to know that somebody as strong, as successful as you, a Navy SEAL, also questioned his value and his worth. And look at you now as you come through. It's your story's amazing, and I know it helps so many people.
Our minds, Carrie, as you already know, are our minds as such is our biggest critic to us as
Mhm.
individuals. Even today at 45 this year, this August, I still sometimes have to tell myself that I am worthy of this thing, of the
Mhm.
things that's coming to me, that I can do this particular thing or challenge that's coming my way. Because I still get challenged today because I'm always looking to do more, be more, or try do this and attempt this thing. So for any of your clients who are in their own mind, believing or thinking that they are the only ones, I want to say to them, you are not the only ones. We are all adults, and this mind that we have right here is crazy. It will
Mhm.
bring up negative thoughts. You have to fight those negative thoughts that come up and tell you that this is too hard. It's not
Mhm.
that it's too hard. You can do it. You just have to create a big reason why you want to do it. You have to be inspired enough to do it. So if you want to lose that weight, if you want to build that habit, you just have to find that particular thing that really tells you that you want to do this and why you really want to do it. And you go with it. Because I'm telling you, as much as you see me and Carrie, we take care of ourselves. We work out, we exercise, we eat clean. I don't eat super clean every single day,
Me
right?
neither.
And every single day, but I take care of my body on a daily basis, on a regular basis. That even when I'm eating a pizza or my burger or French fries or ice cream and cupcake, it's not going to change my physique. It's not going to change my health by just that thing.
Mhm.
And when I don't want to work out, because even me, like you say, sometimes we don't want to work out. I still get up there and go do it. And if I don't do it this day, I'm gonna do it again the next day. So give
Yeah.
yourself grace.
The
Give
real,
yourself
the
grace.
real, the real habit is when you
Mhm.
fall off the habit that you get back on.
Get
That's
back on.
really the habit that we
Mhm.
have to do. So, Q, how can people find you and follow you? Because your social media is amazing. I feel like I just like love watching all of your stories. So, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram as my name, number one. I'm creating a YouTube channel, but my Instagram is Jovon P. Quarles, my first name, middle initial, and my last name.
We'll
Um,
put it in the show notes too.
yep,
Uh,
yep.
and okay, so now if there's really going to be a season four, I am
Mhm.
going to I feel like I need in the Super Bowl when we have like our picks, like I feel like I need picks because now I have some insight as to really looking at the why in terms of whether or not they're going to make it all the way through or not.
Hey, you never know. I mean, I think if we get season four for sure, I think these next group of stars, celebrities, movie stars, musicians, whoever they get on the show, I think every year we try to get them bigger and better. You never know. I mean, I would love to see a Tom Brady on the show. It'd be
Come
great. And
on.
I think Tom, his mentality, as he's
Yeah.
always been, it would be something to really challenge on the show and people to really see that even though he's Tom Brady, he's a great guy. I love the man for what he's shown, his character's personality, but he'll be able to show people that even on the level that he was at, he had to challenge himself as well, and he's had negative thought, and he had to get himself through the positive thinking and all that stuff as well. So I want people to see that through someone like him.
Well, let's manifest that because you and I were just talking about how if God plants a seed of a thought, he often like pushes us in that direction. So we're gonna plant that seed for Tom Brady for you.
Let's plan it. Let's do it.
Awesome, Q. Thank you so much. I can't wait for season four. Make sure you go follow him on Instagram. And remember, the bigger your why, the more you can literally fly. So let's do this. Q, you're the best. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Carrie. See you soon.